Oh, is there something I can do here? Knives need sharpening. I'm Magdalene Drucker. Are you a friend of Smokey's? I'd like to think so. I'm Vacslav. I'm a tinkerer. Travel around and help people out with sharpening knives. Little things like that. Drucker, are you a printer's daughter? My father and I are both printers. Do you sample the wares much? Yes, I read books, as often as I can. Vaclav, don't. Vaclav. You're going to get in trouble again. What is he talking about? Nothing. Ignore him. Nothing. This one can't help but talk to people about all of the strange things he believes. He reads all sorts of books, talks to odd folks, gets ideas brewing in his head. Now that doesn't bother old Smokey none. Bothers some other people a whole lot. It doesn't bother me any. If it doesn't bother you, and it doesn't bother old Smokey, sounds like there's nothing to worry about. Fine. If you get run out of here again, don't blame me. Again? Do I want to know what happened? A long time ago I got into an argument with some people in town. They told Father Thomas. To his credit, he told them to let it go, but somehow an inquisitor found out. Anyway, I had to leave for a while. So, books? Strange ideas? Yes, the host, the Eucharist, the bread and wine, body and blood of Christ. Holy Communion, what about it? More and more people are writing about rejecting transubstantiation. The idea that the bread and wine of the Eucharist literally becomes the body and blood of Christ. Eucharist, the consecrated elements of the communion, also called the Lord's Supper or Holy Communion. In Catholicism, the Eucharist refers to the bread and wine after they have been transubstantiated into the body and blood of Christ. The idea that the bread and wine of the Eucharist it literally becomes the body of the blood of Christ. Here we go. Martin Luther has written about it, I know that. Erasmus disagreed. Erasmus of Rotterdam, a Dutch priest and philosopher who is preeminent among northern humanists. He is known for his works in Latin and Greek, as well as his calls for reform within the Church. Martin Luther, priest and professor of theology at the University of Wittenberg, controversial for his opinions on the Church's sale of indulgences to forgive sin, which were recently published and distributed throughout the empire. Well, yes, Luther and Erasmus aside, people have been thinking about this for a while. Both Wycliffe and Huss rejected transubstantiation for sound and logical reasons. Using our eyes, our senses, there is nothing perceptible that changes in the character of the bread and the wine. Must our senses necessarily encompass all of God's miracles for them to be real? No, not all, but for what reason would He place them outside the compass of our understanding? As an act of faith, blessed are those who believe but have not seen. But if that is the case, of what importance is the material composition of the host? Even if the bread and wine turned to Christ's body and blood, why is that necessary for spiritual communication or communion? We are bound by flesh attempting to reunite with the light of God through the Eucharist. The act, the observance, unites our will with that of Christ. He is present in us throughout the remembrance, not the physical act. Even Martin Luther said the presence of Christ's physical body and blood was necessary to communion. Yes, but the others at the Marburg Colloquy disagreed. Zwingli, Melanchthon, Bucer, all men far wiser and more educated on these matters than us. And if you consider that these men have rejected such thinking, then there are greater implications. Are you ready to hear why it is important to disbelieve in transubstantiation? Sure, why not? I'll admit I hoped for some more enthusiasm regarding the fate of our souls, but alright. This all starts with Lucifer creating the world. Excuse me? Jesus Christ, or say nothing. God was the Word, and the Word was truth, and truth is light. The light is God's will. God's light contained aspects, what we consider angels, facets of His infinite intellect. One of these aspects separated itself from His intellect and manifested in the darkness as the corrupt will, Lucifer. Within that darkness, Lucifer cast his false light, a corrupted imitation of the divine intellect, to create the world. All material in our world is inherently a corrupted manifestation of that false light. We still have a connection to God through our intellect, but it is flawed by existing in our physical bodies. So Genesis was wrong? Was Jesus flawed by being a man even though he was born of a virgin? But you still believe we can be redeemed through Christ, right? Alright, now I've definitely heard enough. There are many stories of creation, many versions even of Genesis. Why is it you believe yours is the correct one? The Council of Trent, mostly, right? You believe the one your church has given you. Maybe if you were given another, you would have believed that instead. Was Jesus flawed by being a man, even though he was born of a virgin? He was not born of a virgin. I'm not hearing any of this. And it would not matter if he were. Lucifer was a rebellious splinter of God's will. The Christ appeared when God willed his divine intellect into Jesus. You said that physical bodies were all corrupt. This is bordering on some Gnostic beliefs. Yes, but while we are the heirs of Lucifer's rebellious intellect, Christ received wisdom from the light of God himself. He did truly die and was truly resurrected in body. But his reappearance was only important for him to convey the message of salvation to the people. In truth, resurrection is always happening, since if we die without grace, our souls are condemned to be reborn. We have some reincarnation beliefs. This physical world is the only hell we know, living again and again, the only torment. I think that's a sad way to look at life. So how do we escape it? That's an interesting idea. Regular prayer, abstention from material desires, sublimation and elimination of want. That just sounds like being a monk. Yeah, sounds like Buddhism. No. Priests and monks are both are corrupt agents of the business of the church. They have taken the simplicity of holy devotion and profaned it with pageantry. The saints, too, all this talk of morts and satya and miracles, they're just stories. The church has led people astray, with the hope of people in meaningless rituals, faith in relics. I don't think so. I believe what Father Thomas teaches is the true gospel. I can see why you don't go into town much. You have some interesting ideas, Vacslav. Vacslav? I'm glad you think so. I've spent a lifetime thinking about them. And being a Romani heretic. Anyway, thank you for indulging me, Magdalene. It was illuminating. Of course, I was just being polite. Until later. Till then. Good day, Mistress Druckren. I've told you Smokey called me Magdalene. Old habits, I suppose. What brings you to my corner of the woods? More gossip? Only ancient gossip. I was wondering if you knew anything about the old pagan and Roman mines. As much as I'm curious now, I'm looking for a way to get into the old salt mines. The mines? Is this a new interest of yours, Magdalene? I don't see the townsfolk trek out here as much anymore. Last I saw were those two twins making trouble. They know a way in, but I'll be damned if I ever set foot close to that place. What are you so interested in over there? The mural in the Rathaus needs a section about the earliest days of Tassing. The mines are the oldest part of Tassing, and you keep a keen ear. I thought you might have heard something. I don't know about getting down into the mines, but I do know a fair few stories about them and the other Roman ruins around here. The old stories my father used to tell me when he was the burner of Tassing. The one about Mars and Tassia, the nymph, is always my favorite, though I blame that on my youth. Tassia, like Tassing? Folk named the town after a pagan god, a Roman one at that. Well, the nymph of the spring. I don't mind telling you the tale, Magdalene, but I warn you, it's a bit bawdy. Yeah, we've heard quite a few versions of this story in the game so far. It's likely that Tassier was also part of the pagan tribal group before the Romans came to conquer it and built the fort that on the hill that was then transformed into the abbot. Oh, count me curious. Don't leave anything out, especially the body parts. Ha! Well, I won't have your father hounding me for any lewdness. Folk don't like me much in this town anyhow. But I'll tell you the decent bits of what I remember. Alright, what's the story? Well, legend says that Mars was hunting in these woods and spied a fat boar for the taking. He just pulled back his spear when he heard a woman scream in terror. Of course, the creature ran off, and the god was angry at the loss of his quarry. He tramped through the woods to see why a woman was in the forest and not in the local town. Why would a god be hunting in Tassing's forest? I go into the forest all the time. How should I know? Maybe he just wanted a brisk walk. Besides, why should anything the gods do make sense? These are the old days when spirit and ghost prowled. What do you mean prowled? You're just trying to scare me. Ghosts aren't real. Human spirits go to heaven or hell. They don't stay on earth. Prowled, you know, like spirits and other evil things do. can't just say they walked through the woods like you or me. They prowled. Alright, keep going. So, Mars found a nymph, Tassia, bathing in a spring with a fat, ugly satyr goading her from the shore. Enraged at seeing the trapped nymph, Mars transformed into a wolf and slew the satyr. And in return, well, hey, Tessia bathed the god. Smoky, haha. I get it, they bathed. I did warn you, Magdalene. When Mars left the pool, he dripped onto the ground, and it blossomed with flowers and crops. They say that's why this valley is so fertile. It might be tricky to paint on the mural. I'm not sure if the council would approve. Oh my. Did you make that up? How do I know that's a real legend? I doubt they would. But you're the artist, aren't you? You get to choose what the mural shows. I wouldn't let those old bastards keep you from painting what you want. So much of what the Romans left behind was destroyed over the years, but I like that we still have these tales. You can never really destroy stories, as long as there are people to tell them. Of course, the Romans left a hell of a lot behind, too. The town is more Roman than Bavarian, really. Well, we are part of the Holy Roman Empire. Because how long it was a Roman colony? That's ridiculous. We're Bavarian, not Roman. Oh, right. The town was named after Tassia, the nymph. Haha, that we are. And not for a lack of trying. Passing is actually much smaller now than it was in the Romans' day. At least that's what I make of it. The ruins go deep into the forest and all the way down to the old mine. Half of Tassing is built on Roman stone. Take a walk around town and you'll start noticing things we used their stone to build. The old temple by Satya's shrine has grown over, but the aqueduct runs for miles. Even the abbey used to be an old Roman fort. You can see some of the Roman paved stones under the road if you look hard. You may not be Roman, but this town is. Testing's been building on itself for hundreds of years. What a beautiful idea. I never realized how much we relied on the Romans for our infrastructure. Old stones aren't much for a legacy. It's all rubble now, reused and forgotten. Most of the people around here don't. Townsfolk are too busy to notice what's right in front of their eyes. Maybe I should go take a look at the mine. I'd get a better sense of what things are actually like. Nothing will stop you, I see. Well, I won't either. Just keep an eye out for any wolves or satyrs you might see down there, eh? I'll let you know if I see any. Thanks for your help. Good luck, Magdalene. Be safe.